Sunday, we continue Jesus' Sermon on the Mount with more moral teachings. Again, the kinds of teachings that if these were the material of the final judgment, it would be very disconcerting, I believe. He says that we should lend to all who ask, that we shouldn't expect people to give us back what they steal from us, that we should walk 2 miles when someone forces us into labor for 1 mile, that we should love not our friends but our enemies, that we should not seek retribution but rather give our own second cheek when the first is struck. And to make sense of this, I really do not believe that this is the material of our final judgment. Jesus tells us very clearly what we should expect on the final exam when he speaks of judgment. I'm not saying there's no judgment, but he tells us what to expect there. He says, "Did you feed me when I was hungry? Did you clothe me when I was naked? Did you give me shelter when I was homeless? Did you welcome me when I was a stranger? Did you care for me when I was sick? And did you visit me when I was in prison?" That's the entire final exam. But Jesus has these other teachings about how we should live our lives. And what has blessed me most as I've struggled with them is a recognition that this is how to live a better life now. These aren't the things I need to do to get to heaven. These are the things I need to do to live in peace. When somebody hurts me, I can spend the rest of my life hurt and angry and upset. Or I can take that control back and say, bring it on, right? That I don't need to spend my life upset because of a harm that was caused. I can spend my life sorting out friends and enemies, and I can be a small person who only loves the people who give me stuff. Or with a much bigger heart and a much more joy-filled life, I can have enough love for everybody, even my enemies. It's not that it's an easy teaching. These are difficult teachings. The willingness to, rather than just lash out against the one who forces me into labor, and how many ways are we pushed to work in unfair, taken advantage of? I can spend my life upset about that, trying to avoid that, raging against that. I can embrace it and work with love. I can't control everything. I can't control my enemies. I can't control those who steal from me. I can't control those who force me to work, but I can do a lot to control myself and my heart. And I think Jesus is encouraging us to find a way to live with a free heart, to live with love. Maybe that will help us in the final judgment, but only because we'll recognize the importance of giving food to Jesus when he's hungry, and something to drink when he's thirsty, to welcome him when he's a stranger, to visit him in prison, to care for him when he's sick. That is the final exam. We should never lose sight of where our judgment lies. But we're invited to get there, to be ready for that. We could memorize it, we could do flashcards, but we could prepare our hearts by letting them grow. We can prepare our hearts by learning to live, controlling what we can, the love with which we build our lives, even when we can't control all the circumstances. Because we all, and maybe you more than me, have circumstances that are difficult, that are painful, that are unfair, unjust, right? And we can spend our lives screaming about justice. Jesus suggests we'll be happier if we learn to love even in the midst of struggle, even in the midst of slander, even in the midst of slight. That if we learn to love even our enemies, even those who steal from us, they might get our stuff, but they won't get our heart. They might abuse our time, but they won't take away our peace. And I would think, as imperfectly as I've managed to hear and live this lesson of Jesus, that it's true, that it works, that my life is more at peace and I'm happier, that I know more joy and have more love for all of the times that I've managed to love an enemy, for all of the times that I've managed not to get caught up in something that was stolen, but be hopeful that the right person got it, for all the times that I have been able to give freely of my time, even when it was probably being taken away from me. And I hope all of that will help me also pass the final exam, that bigger heart will make it easier for me to love and care for my brothers and sisters who are strangers or hungry or without a roof over their head or sick or in prison.